What is up? So we're doing a special edition of the Comics Lounge live coming at you. And this is a very special one because I get to do a creator interview with a local creator right here from Western New York, where I grew up. And there's some pretty big stuff that's been going on in Western New York. But more importantly, we have the one, the only creator of Tuff Stuff. And I hope that I pronounce this right, Volantis, Kevin Delgado.
Hey,
here it is.
You got that right.
Okay. Perfect. So how's it going?
It's good. Busy. Every day is like a long day, but it's good. It's rewarding.
So are you Buffalo born and raised?
Yeah.
Okay.
I moved to Pittsburgh for a couple of years. I went to art school out there. So that's where I got my went to school,
Very cool. Bills fan, Sabres fan?
Bills fan. Sabres kind of suck. So
it's kind of hard to be a Buffalo fan every now and again.
Hey, I mean, the Bills are good, so can't complain.
There you go. I grew up in Rochester, so just down the block from you guys, and it's always been fun watching the Sabres growing up, watching the Amerks growing up, and the Amerks becoming Sabres. And then every now and again, I tune into a Bills game, and since I've been kind of following them a little bit more and they've been doing a little bit better, it's always kind of fun to guess the outcome of the game and kind of watch and learn a little bit more about the game because I was never a huge football fan growing up.
Yeah. It's nice to watch them win, I'll tell you that much, because I definitely seen a lot of stinkers, and they used to be, Sundays used to be like, you're just waiting for your heart to break, you know what I mean? You're waiting for some crazy way for them to lose the game, and it just happened for decades, really. So,
the Buffalo model, there's always next year.
It's like weird to watch them win because you're not used. I'm not used to it because I've seen them lose some of the time. It's like, I'm kind of bored halfway through because we're just winning,
Yeah, that's how I am with the Sabres now. I love seeing them win, and I tune in because I want to see them win, but I'm like, okay, when are you guys going to give up and lose?
Yeah, well, they're doing it now. So yeah, man.
But yeah, so I know that you have 8 issues of Volantis out right now, and where have you released that book? Where can we find it?
You could get it at Queen City Comics. You can get it at Gutter Pop Comics. I'm sold out of some issues, so I've really been pushing the trade paperback, and I sell that. You can get that exclusively through me. And
that's awesome.
Once I have the later end of this arc, I'll get the other one out. But for right now, it's just that one. Issues 7 and 8. I think 7's almost sold out. 8's pretty low too, and I don't plan on reprinting them. I want them to be, if you get them, you get them.
That's amazing,
I should reprint them. What's that?
That's amazing. I mean,
yeah. A businessman, you really should have them constantly in print and all that, but I just feel like there's more value to it if it's you got to get it when it comes out. You know what I mean? I'm trying to put people in like that.
And I mean, to be able to say I'm a local artist and I've sold out locally, that's got to be a huge accomplishment.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's weird, I'm a local artist, but isn't every artist a local artist? Everyone's got to live somewhere. You know what I mean?
For sure.
That's the one good thing about comics is it doesn't really matter where you live. I mean, we email files and stuff. It's
100%. It's totally different now.
Yeah, it's not even music. You can be a musician from anywhere. It's just, is it hitting? Is it reaching? Are people checking it out? That's where that's at. So I get what you're saying, though. Yeah, I'm from Western New York. I'm from Buffalo. There's not a ton of artists here. It's not, I don't even think a lot of artists live in New York City. You know what I mean? It's very expensive, and it's got to be hard. Maybe the editors, maybe the the office people, but not the actual talent. I don't believe. I know some people that live on the road. I watched. Wow. Did you watch that one documentary that came out? It was on the Disney Plus channel, and it showed Dan Slott and some guy doing an Iron Man comic, and the artist lived in a RV and traveled the world.
Hey.
And I think Matt Wilson, the colorist, does that too.
Gotta do what you gotta do, right?
Hey, I mean, if you want to go and travel, you can. All you need is an iPad. You know what I mean, or
yeah,
a Cintiq or something.
So I saw your promo for Tuff Stuff right after you got fully funded, right on your on your website. It kind of like breaks it down. So you do a lot of stuff by hand, and then you put it onto the computer, or.
Well, with like Volantis, I was doing a lot of it digitally, but with Tuff Stuff, I knew I wanted to sell the original pages, and I wanted it to be an outlaw comic, and I don't think there's really such thing as a digitally drawn outlaw comic. Like, I think you have to go, like, put yourself in the 80s and use kind of the technology that they had then, and that's kind of what I tried to stick to. Obviously, coloring it, I use my iPad just because I had to, but I use, like, a limited color palette. I try to do like a duotone kind of look to it. It's definitely got like, it's got like a grit, it's got a texture to it. I put a lot of different like filters on to kind of emulate techniques that would have been used at the time.
Okay.
So I really wanted to keep it in that, you know, time frame. Like even the black and white edition, you know, it's printed on newsprint almost. It's like a
awesome.
step above newsprint. But I wanted it to be like that old school, you know, effect all around, and any way I could figure it out and bring it in that I could accomplish, I did.
So in Tuff Stuff has like that old school vibe to it. Where'd you get the idea for it from?
Well, are you familiar with Cartoonist Kayfabe?
Yeah.
So they really hit that nail or really tried to bring outlaw comics to like the forefront. So I knew I'd wanted to do an outlaw comic, and then what really happened was in the pandemic of last year, I had a lot of time, and my brother and I, we would watch these movies on like Tubi, and we would just try to find like the worst, cheapest B movies from the 80s and 90s that we could find. And I'm like, the cheesier the better, you know, the worse the acting, there's no script, there's no budget, like, oh, sign me up. You know how many like horrible movies I watched? Like, this is great to just sit back and watch.
100%.
Yeah, so like I don't know if you ever seen Samurai Cop, but that was like a big influence. Gotta watch.
It sounds familiar, but I have never seen it. It sounds really cheesy.
It's so bad. But the guy that directed it, he directed a bunch of like really bad B movies. That they're not even B. B would be like B's like too high. I'm talking like straight D. You know, no plot, no color grading, edits. They just like have like a ton of pickup shots where it's just like people in an office just spitting like random lines cut into the scenes because like nothing made sense, you know? So I just wanted to do something like, I wanted to do my version, my take on that. And so I kind of figured out the cover and everything. And basically I locked myself in this room for like 2 days and just wrote out the script. And it kind of just started writing itself. And I knew I wanted it, you know, I knew the elements that I wanted to put into it. And after that, it's just a matter of fact of connecting the dots. And then it's funny, like it's a funny book. So it's like just writing jokes and tweaking the dialogue. And I added and changed things up until, you know, pretty much it saw print. But I just had a lot of time to develop it. So I think that's why
amazing.
It took off as much as it did. It just had a really solid pitch and approach that's like easily digestible. It's like Troubled Alley Cat has to say Spring Break in 1993. And that alone just like, that's it. You know, because people would ask me, they'd be like, well, what's Volantis about? And I'd be like, well, it's a sprawling sci-fi epic saga, and there's like warring families, and it's in the future, and there's aliens. And it's like, I can't tell you what the gist of it is, you know what I mean? I could just tell you the elements of it. So you might lose people on that, but if you have a quick, you know, catchy, snappy cat pitch, you know, everyone likes cats. Everyone likes cats and everyone likes little kids. Those are like the two best things to make cartoons of, apparently, because look at South Park, look at, you know, Peanuts. I just watched that Charles Schultz documentary last night about Peanuts, and same thing with him. He was trying to make comics for like 5 years, and he started doodling like these little kids and like, you know, just little kid shit that you I don't know if I'm allowed to. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
But you know, like you know, just how brutal little kids can be. Like they showed the first comic strip, and it was like some kid's walking up, and he's like, "There's Charlie Brown," and then he walks by him, and he's like, "I hate Charlie Brown," and it's like, yeah, but that's what kind of worked for him, and it like launched out for him. So yeah, I forgot where we were going with that, but
No, it's all good. I love these conversations because you just kind of get to be raw. You get to really learn about someone as well as learn about what they've created. And it's nice to see how passionate you are about this. And the fact, like you said, that it just kind of like flowed right out. As soon as you started writing, it just started to go. And that's what you like to see with a writer is when they come up with a script or they come up with a story, it seems like it all was there from the very beginning. Like they didn't have to think of it on the fly. Like it wasn't pushed. It wasn't like overthought. Like they were able to just let it flow straight from here, right onto the paper, thoughts and all just ready to go. And I mean, that's what I'm getting from you is that Tuff Stuff was just something that was a brainchild of yours for years and years. And it finally was just ready to be put on paper.
yeah, that's weird. It just, you know, even with the next issue, like I did that really quick too. Like I wrote that super quick. And I think the funny thing is like you said, like, yeah, it's there, but also it's trying to not do what's predictable, but still making it cohesive and like seem like it fits in. So it's got to be like it's a natural progression of the character, and it takes it in a different place so that I'm not running like tropes and gags into the ground. Because you get that a lot with some characters. They're cool off the bat, and then they just become flat. You know what I mean? Like they might look cool, but like look at Deadpool, for example. He came out the bat looking cool, kind of blew up, and then for probably about 5 or 6 years, the character was just kind of like they didn't know what to do with him. And then Joe Kelly figured it out, and he, you know, had the fourth wall breaking, like brought to the extreme, gave him personality. You know, so as much as a credit as, you know, Rob Liefeld is to creating Deadpool, it's a writer like Joe Kelly that kind of took it to the next level and so on and so forth. You could name any character really.
For sure.
But a lot of them, they just don't reach their potential until later on because they're not character pushed, especially if they're like a character on a teen book or something. Whereas Tuff Stuff, it's almost like a cartoonist approach because, well, one, I am a cartoonist and I'm doing all the functions and everything, but it's like I want to not make this character flat, and I don't want to lose readership throughout his story. And we as people, we're compelling, and we do different things in life, and people change and they evolve, and some people don't evolve. You know what I mean? But it's just something that you can bring into a character just to keep them relevant.
Yeah, you almost have to have those characters that kind of stay flat, and then the ones that change over time and fluctuate and everything, just to kind of see where I can take this character. So when you're creating a character or when you're creating just a story, are there times where a character will go in a direction that you never intended?
Yeah, of course. Especially like with doing Volantis, I brought an extra writer on, my buddy Pete Badami, and he helped me with the last, I don't know, probably 4 issues. And I would give him like the rough outline of what I wanted in the book and elements and beats and all that. And I'd say just, you know, go ahead and do whatever, you know what I mean? So he wrote different things in the book that I never imagined or wanted, you know what I mean? But it was also nice to have that collaborative approach and to kind of see things from a different perspective that I normally wouldn't, you know, think of. So, but yeah, you're right though. I mean, some characters should stay constant and the same and not, you know, be unwavering to differences and stuff. But other times, you know, it really depends. I mean, I'm not going to publish Tuff Stuff regularly for like 40 years. So it's not like X-Men where I can, you know, change Wolverine. You know, he's not a Claude Savage anymore. You know, he's like a dapper gentleman who does, you know, Sudoku puzzles. Like, it's totally out of frame for the character. You know what I mean? But I could do that with Tuff Stuff. You might not want to read that issue, but it could happen, you know? So I don't know. It's a weird thing. I guess you just got to play it by ear when it comes to that.
Yeah, and sometimes, I mean, I'm reading Flash and Amazing Spider-Man right now, and I was reading Crossover for the longest time, and that I wasn't really a fan of where that was going, so I kind of put it down for a little bit, but now I think I might pick it up again. And it's kind of interesting how different writers will kind of make you want to tune out of a book for a little while. Like when Flash was approaching Future State, I kind of was like, yeah, I'm not really a huge fan of what they're doing with the Flash. I really loved where they were. And now that Adams has taken it over, I'm loving where it's going. And it's kind of like a whole revitalization when there's a new writer on. But obviously with a comic like Tough Stuff, where you're just kind of starting out, and like you said, it's probably not going to be a 40-year run. And that's okay. It's perfectly fine to allow these characters to ebb and flow and do what they need to do. And it's interesting too to see how a creator of a brand new comic kind of talks about where they want to go with a character. Like I did an interview with Ace Comics, who have a couple different books out, and they just started out. I don't even think that their oldest one has 8 issues out, and they're still kind of like learning the paces. Like, okay, where can we take this character? That it's not predictable. It's not like other comics that are out there. And it's cool to kind of see different storylines and different creators and different writers kind of do different things. For those of you guys just joining us, we're talking with Kevin Delgado, the creator of Tough Stuff and Volantis. They are brand new comics. They're kind of independent. How long has Volantis been out for?
I started Volantis in May 2017.
Okay. And then Tough Stuff just started this June?
Tough Stuff just came out last week.
Last week. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So, yeah, these are newer books. They're stuff that you probably haven't seen, but as you can always go to Kevin's website, and I'll leave a link in the description below later on, and drop a link in the chat right now, so that way you guys can go check it out. Just real quick, Kevin. So the Kessler Runner asked, what are outlaw comics? Never heard that term before.
They're just comics without rules, basically. It's like an R-rated comic, NC-17 comic. I mean, it's just extra violent, extra gratuitous, profanity, you name it. Like, there's just no rules. You know what I mean? The rule is to be as extreme as possible. So, I think Tough Stuff's done. It's tasteful, but like there's a lot of drug use to comedic effect. There's a lot of violence. There's, it's just, it is what it is. It's supposed to be like that. It's supposed to be as extreme as possible, like I said. So I think that's pretty much the basic. I mean, I guess technically an outlaw comic is anything that's not approved by the Comics Code, but I don't even think that's a thing anymore. So yeah, so R-rated, X-rated comics. That's pretty much extra violent.
Yeah. Sounds good. Yeah.
Yeah.
You described it better than I could.
I get asked that a while. Yeah. I got it because I don't want to like sell people. See, people think it's a cat and everything. Like, oh, it's cute. I'm like, don't get that to your kid. Look on the back cover. Don't do that. It's just to illustrate that, like, the villain's skeezy dude. You would probably walk into his office and he's putting something up his nose, you know what I mean? Like, it's the element,
So give us the kind of vibe of Tough Stuff. Is it a hero versus villain type of thing? What kind of genre does this fit into, just besides outlaw comic?
I don't think I can write anything that's not like a hero's journey.
Okay.
So it's a tale, it's a tale of redemption. I like to use a lot of puns, so it's got all those. Yeah, it's just a hero's journey, basically. I mean, he's kind of a lowlife, and stuff happens, and he becomes a hero out of necessity, even if the necessity is not exactly wholesome. So then he gets dumped. Cool. He kind of wants to get his girlfriend back. So
pun intended.
Oh, horribly. I'm full of, if you see my Kickstarter, it's all puns. If you read the book, there's a lot of puns throughout. it's relentless. I'm a dad, so I love dad jokes, and puns happen to be part of that repertoire. So get ready.
For sure. I mean, that's where you got to be with a dad. You got to steer into the skid of dad jokes.
I'm wearing white sneakers today. I did. I had the dad shoes on for sure. Get off my lawn. It's a popular phrase around here.
That's okay. I was mowing my lawn today, and my son wanted to help, so he gets his little bubble mower, and my wife goes, "Easton, you're not wearing your lawn mowing shoes. Dad's gonna be upset." I said, "Yeah, go take off his brand new shoes, and we're not getting them grass stained. You kidding me? They're Spider-Man light up shoes."
You better put a cloth on or something. You don't want grass stains on your shoes. I got you. So yeah, man.
I see a lot of artwork in the background, X-Men, Superman. What kind of started your comic journey?
First comic I remember getting was Todd McFarlane's Spider-Man #5. My oldest sister gave it to me, and I was a small child. And then I fell in love with Batman the Animated Series and the X-Men Animated Series, probably X-Men more at the time. And now it's probably the other way around. Big into X-Men throughout the 90s, even though the comics kind of sucked. I was just, what is this? You know what I mean? So I became a Marvel head. And I also got introduced to Image at the time. It was a little more adult for me, but my sister had them. So I'd read her comics, like The Max and Spawn. Spawn, like, I loved it. Still do. I collect a lot of Spawn stuff. I like The Darkness a lot. And then I think I really liked the George Perez run of Avengers, because the Avengers have been a horrible book for a really long time. And then Kurt Busiek, relaunched it, and I liked it. And the Marvel Knights stuff I liked. And then I kind of got out of comics for a while. And then I got back into them probably around 2005, 2006. Was reading the Astonishing X-Men run by Joss Whedon and John Cassaday, and I really dug that. That kind of got me back into it. And then from there, I read like the New Avengers, the Grant Morrison's X-Men run I liked a lot. And then I just kind of picked up stuff along the way, and then slowed down for a while. And then maybe about 6 years ago, I got back into it, because I'd always been drawing and stuff, but like I got really into drawing. I got injured, so I was like debilitated for 5 months, and all I did was just draw. I drew 100 Marvel characters in 100 days, and then I started formulating the ideas for Volantis in that time, and then I started drawing it, and then, you know, a year or two later, I put out the first book. But I had mapped out, like, I had built the whole world before I started really doing the first book. Like,
that's awesome.
Yeah. It was originally going to be 72 issues, and I was like, that's a lot of work. I pencil, ink, color, I kind of do it all. I've had help along the way here and there, but for the most part, that was me just taking on the brunt of that work. And like after a while, I was like, man, exhausting. Plus other things in life, commissions, music, whatever. You know what I mean? If I could do comics 24 hours a day, I would. But, there's other things I got to do.
For sure. Especially being a dad, you got to be there for the kids, and you got to do what you got to do. And so is comics like your full-time gig? Do you do that all the time? Or I've always been curious about independent artists, if they kind of stick to comics or what. So
right now, it's definitely a full-time gig. I work a job, but I kind of only work part-time.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I have a very demanding job, so it's like I don't have like an easy job to do part-time. So it's a lot of it's harder on me. But yeah, for the most part, I mean, yeah, pretty much do comics full-time. I mean, I'm at least doing comics 50 hours a week. That's awesome. Yeah, but I get a lot of commissions. So when you say comics, the comics to me is commissions included too, because that's where I get a lot of. Oh yeah,
for sure.
Tough Stuff is actually the first book I put out in like 10 months, because I had done 2 other books, but those were work for hire, so I didn't get to like self-publish those or anything. So I literally just got paid up front, or a deposit or whatever. So those two were kind of out of my hands. Like I've only seen one of those in print, and I don't even own one. You know what I mean? Like that was,
Yeah.
I can't really say. I keep saying, "Do you know what I mean?" And I'm working on not saying that as much because you're not me, you don't know that. So I'm gonna try to stop myself from saying that. But so I did like a style guide / employee handbook for D'Youville College in Buffalo, and that was a 20-page book, and it follows these two cartoon St. Bernards, and they kind of go on this like journey through space and then throughout like the campus and the history of the school, and it all has a ton of copy in there about, you know, benefits and your 401k and Medicaid or Medicare, whatever. You get the idea of it.
No, it's
and
awesome.
The other cool book I did a mini comic called Midnight Arabus, and that was for a rapper out of Brooklyn / producer. His name is Ducelis. So that was cool. You know, he accompanied his album of the same name. And that was fun. So I did those two between doing Volantis 8 and Tuff Stuff. Tuff Stuff is also like 40 pages, so it's like a double-sized comic. And I did all of that in like less than 4 months. So that's pretty good, because normally a book takes me about 4 months just to do the entire process. So I was kind of floating on that, so it was nice.
So when you decided, I'm just going to start making my own comic, what was the first thing that kind of came to your head? Was it the writing side? Was it the artist side? Like, where do you find yourself kind of leaning more toward?
When it came to Volantis, it was more like having visions in my head and like random thoughts and actually sketching it out on paper, you know, like, who's this woman? You know, what does she look like? What does she do? What are her powers? Who's this guy? What does he do? So I kind of did that with a lot of the main cast before I really kind of did anything. And then I was just like looking at it all the time, thinking like, how would they interact, you know? And then I was influenced by other things that I was watching and taking in and reading. And I'm sure a little bit of that crept in to begin with, but it was more or less like my brain trying to figure out how things would work together. Because at the time I started developing Volantis, I was going back to school for engineering. So I was learning a lot about technology and, you know, like green technology and how to use like natural resources and renewable energy. And I was thinking like in the future, that's probably going to be the model. You know what I mean? Like everything's got to be solar powered, wind powered. You know, we can't use fossil fuel forever. And also was like I wanted to set it in the future so I wouldn't be tied down to like continuity of now. I wanted to have like a free range to do kind of whatever I wanted, but make it possible at the same time. So that also kind of led into like the use of the technology and the world and how it would operate and how a person could gain power and what they would have done if they had control of power for 100 years. Wow. I don't know if you haven't read Volantis, the main like villain, her name is Jupiter Wendella, and she's ran this civilization basically for over a century. And, you know, power corrupts, so absolute power corrupts absolutely. So she's just basically a tyrant. And it was just, I always had the idea of her backstory. Her backstory is in issue 7, but it was originally issue 2. And I had to take it out because I'm like, this is too heavy to do on the second book. Like, we're still world building and trying to figure everything out. So I was mad too, because that was like, I wrote it on a beach in Puerto Rico, and I was like, oh my God, this is like heart-wrenching. You know what I mean? I made her backstory so fucking tragic. Like, she catches her husband cheating on her. Everyone in the world is dead, and like she's taking in the last survivors. And man, like her settlement gets raided by people, and her husband's supposed to be watching like the guard, and he's out cheating, and she like has to kill all these people, and they've like slaughtered kids on their property. Like, oh man. She loses a baby before that, and that's why they moved out to the desert. And like, it's just like one bad thing after another, you know what I mean? But if you actually like put that all together, like the natural progression of it makes so much sense. Like, well, okay, so she starts as a like bright, hopeful college student. She meets like the man of her dreams. They get married, and then she's pregnant with her first child, and she gets attacked. She loses the baby, and they say, you know, F this, we're moving. They move out to the middle of nowhere. Then this like cataclysmic event happens that wipes out most of the life on Earth. They're okay because they're in like a landlocked desert location, and they've built this like green society. I don't know if you know what like Earthship is, but it's kind of like they live in a souped up Earthship, and over 100 years it develops into like this crazy society.
Okay.
So that's kind of the basis of the city that they live in, and how she became the ruler and all that. But like, just name it though. She like lost a baby. Her husband lost interest in her and cheated on her, and her settlement's been destroyed. And she's
like the perfect recipe for a villain.
Yeah, but it's like it's a sympathetic villain because you can see why she is the way she is, and things happen to her that were out of her control. She was fucked over just over and over and over again, and you know she just wasn't going to be the victim anymore. So the way of doing that is become the king. You know what I mean? The ruler.
For sure.
So, yeah.
I've always said, like, when it comes to writing and when it comes to like watching a writer's character progress, I feel like it takes so much more, not really effort, but just like thought process to really dive into a villain and make a villain a well-rounded character than it is to make a hero a well-rounded character. Because the hero, everyone's looking at, everyone's kind of trying to figure out their story. Everyone's loving their story, or figuring out like, okay, Batman became Batman because his parents died and he wanted to avenge them and whatnot. And he wanted to make sure that never could happen again, and everything that happened in his life. Like, that's easy. But to make a character that's a villain, a well-rounded character who people can actually understand why they're a villain, why they do what they do, that's not an easy task. Like, the one that I always kind of related to is Thanos in the MCU, because you can kind of start to realize as you go through his story, okay, maybe that does kind of make sense. If my planet got wiped out because we were overpopulated, I can understand why he would want to wipe out half of all life. Like, I get that. And it almost seems like he's not a villain anymore, but he's a dude with a really messed up way of fixing everything going wrong.
Right.
So, I mean, yeah, that's awesome that villainess is such a well-rounded and just well-done character.
Yeah. Adds to the conflict too, because it's the main character's great grandmother. You know what I mean? He's literally got to turn his back on his family, so that's even more to the conflict. But yeah, like you were saying with villains and stuff, like I don't know. I guess I was always more attracted to the villains, like Magneto, Doctor Doom.
Yep.
Like I love them. I love those characters. You know, Apocalypse I always thought was cool. Like there's just so many different ones. You know what I mean? I kind of think I always like the villains more than the heroes. Yeah. I like to see what makes them tick. You know what I mean? Look at Venom. Venom was always a villain, and then they realized that he was such a cool character, and they're like, well, he can't always be a villain. You know, that became like an anti-hero, whatever that means, and now he's just a straight up hero. Yeah. It's interesting how that works, the dichotomy of it, but. Yeah, I don't know. Villains are just, to me, they're always more interesting. I always care more about a villain's arc in a movie than the heroes. Like you said, it's kind of predictable. With Volantis, I don't think, the main character, Carlos, I don't think he's as interesting as Jupiter. I mean, we were building it up, you know, and there's more about him in the later issues, but he's just kind of, you know, normal, I guess. I don't know. He's just like a regular guy. Whereas he's not Jupiter, who's lived for 132 years and seen wars and ruled all this stuff and has this interesting, you know, perspective on things.
Very cool. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I love finding, like you said, what makes that villain tick. Truly And yeah, Magneto is one of my favorite X-Men villains. Venom, I've always been a huge Spider-Man Venom fan. Green Goblin has always been an interesting character to me. And then what they've actually done with Harry Osborn recently and turning him into Kindred, that's been a great story arc. But yeah, it's so cool to see different sides of characters and to see villains not be that flat character in the comic, and that they do have a true story, that they're not just there to take down a hero. With that being said, if you were called by DC, Marvel, Image, Boom, whoever, and they're like, hey, we want you to write this character, what would be that character you would want to write?
I
or
mean,
even draw.
If it was Marvel, I think I'd want to do Ghost Rider, but bring it back on the motorcycle, probably like maybe Danny Ketch, or Johnny Blaze. I don't know. I'm just spitfiring over here. I'd like Cable. I like drawing Cable. If I could do Image, I would like to draw Spawn, obviously.
That'd be so cool.
DC, I would like to do Etrigan. I think that would be rad, or Swamp Thing.
Okay.
Do you see the path I'm going here with these characters I'm picking?
Yeah.
They're all like the dark, supernatural, like monstery kinds. I just like drawing them. It's fun. X-Men would be a dream thing, but I don't know if I'm ready to do that. I think a team book would be like, maybe I could. I don't know. I don't know why I'm doubting myself, but X-Men just seems like a lot. And like the art team that they have, they've always had solid art teams. I mean, maybe there was a couple of stints in the early 90s, mid 90s where it was poop. But besides that, I mean, X-Men, that's such a crazy lineage. I mean, Paul Smith, Jack Kirby, Neil Adams, Cockrum, John Byrne, like Mark Silvestri, Jim Lee, Will Tasio. Oh my God, you just keep going. You know what I mean? Like such
100%
murderer's row right there. Doctor Strange would be cool. I mean, whatever is kind of weird. What I can get as much weird shit out there as possible is kind of what I'd want. Anything that, I'm not limited by anything. So yeah, maybe something like that. I don't think I'd like to do like Spider-Man. I don't want to draw like cities all day. I mean, I like drawing cities. I think I'm getting better at it. I'm decent at it, but just to do that all day long in those weird poses, like, yeah, that's a tough thing to do. Whenever someone asks me to draw Spider-Man, it's like trying to find like a pose that's cool and weird, because he's always contorted and bent over, so you can't show like the entire anatomy. So it's a lot of foreshortening, and it's just Ryan Stegman. Have you looked at his art?
Oh, I love his artwork. Oh my God, the way that he draws Venom is phenomenal.
Oh, amazing.
Like I hope that even when Donnie leaves Venom, I hope that Ryan stays, or at least that someone like on Ryan's level stays, because his artwork is just a whole different level of darkness while still being like down to earth in a way. It's such a weird style, but it works for him. Like one of my favorite one of my favorite slabs is a Ryan Stegman cover.
Yeah.
And like the way that he draws Null in this, like it's so cool how he pulls the background in and makes it part of the actual cover. And I mean, I wish I could have more artwork by him, in all honesty.
He's a cool dude too in person. He's a real cool guy. But that's going into the cartoonist thing too. Like he hand draws in a lot of his sound effects, and like even on that cover, I think he hand drew that. Yeah. And he's super dynamic. Now you still got me on the whole doing stuff for other publishers right now, because I've always wanted to do Fantastic Four. Like I never thought Fantastic Four got the love that it needed. And that's like not in a long time, I should say. I haven't read the new series, so I don't know if you have. Is that good? I don't know. But the movies always sucked.
Yeah.
The book, I think Hickman's run was pretty good, and that's like the last time I really read them. But I think the potential is there, you know?
For sure.
Like Kirby's run, first 102 issues are, you know, masterful. Even to this day, like, I'll read them and laugh. Like when he's got there's like a scene in like the Galactus trilogy where the Thing just like literally like biffs a dude like that and it flings him like over the panel, and I'm like, brilliant. It's so good. He's like, you got a bee in your bonanza or something like that, and he just flicks this dude, and like, you can't pass that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. What do you look for in like what is a great comic to you like comprised of?
So for me, I think we've kind of talked about it a little bit, but pretty much a really cool hero. It's got to have an interesting storyline that I can't guess the ending of. And that's one of the reasons like why with Amazing Spider-Man, even though I'm a huge fan, and even if it completely sucked and I hated it, I'd still pick it up every week. But like with, I can't think of the guy's name right now. Whoever's writing it, with his run right now, it's a lot of people are saying, well, it sucks. And I'm like, yeah, but at the end of the day, like, I'm really curious to see where he goes with it, because like there's certain things where I just didn't see coming, like Harry Osborn being Kindred. I was like, hold on a second, what? And like it makes sense at the end of the day, but you don't see those twist endings coming. And with Kindred being such an amazing villain, and with him trying to kind of not destroy Peter, but make other people realize that Peter's really not the guy that everyone thinks he is, and kind of make Peter self-destruct instead. And I can't wait to start reading Sinister War. I've got literally like a stack like this thick of books I need to read right now. And it's crazy that they come out with these characters that are so well-rounded, even the villains. There's different like side characters, like even the way that they put Kingpin in there and worked in Ravencroft was really phenomenal to kind of see the different dynamics of what's going on. One of the books that I really love right now that has completely captured me is Geiger. And I don't know if you've read it. I want to say it's an Image comic.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm 3 issues in. I need to read issue 4, and it is just such an amazing, a beautifully drawn and amazing storyline. And I love the way that and another thing that captures me is you don't tell me everything right up front. Like, you don't tell me the character's backstory right away. You kind of make me guess and kind of think up my own backstory, and like, okay, when I get there, I'm like, yeah, that's really, that makes sense. Or like I said, the twist ending or the twist in the plot, it really captures me as a reader, and I want to continue to do more with it and learn more about it, I guess. That's one of the biggest reasons that I've started picking up Spawn. And I actually picked up this recently, Spawn's Universe, and I'm loving it. I love the different ways that they're taking Spawn right now.
Nice. That's good to hear. I haven't checked it out yet. Either one, actually. I do want to check them out. I'll probably wait for Geiger when it comes out in like a trade.
Okay.
My pull is very, very small. I'm maybe reading like 5 books like on a monthly basis, like actually reading them. Like you said, you got a read stack that big. I'm like, that's it. You know what I mean?
I'm about a month behind right now.
Look, if I showed you the rest of my office, you would be disgusted because it's just books everywhere. It's not even disgusting, but like it's just piles of books, long boxes, and stuff I gotta ship out, and this, that, and the third. Yeah. But I've got to. I wish I had the time to. I mean, I'm penciler, inker, colorist, writer, and I can't keep up with all of my commitments. I've got another script to write for a book someone else is drawing that I'm coloring, so I'm excited for that. But I'm writing it. So yeah, it's just always busy. Plus, oh my God, you want a sneak peek at something I literally just finished?
Sure.
So I'm going to Terrificon this upcoming weekend, and that's a huge convention in Connecticut. I mean, Donnie Cates is going to be there.
Okay.
Like, ton of people. And it's the first big convention I've done in like 2 years. I haven't, obviously haven't been to one in a while. I've done the smaller ones, but not something in this structure. So this is going to be a new print, and I literally just finished this. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh,
You
wow.
got the whole,
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's kind of an homage a little bit to the first cover, but obviously I changed it. Plus, I really wanted to draw Krang. I never drew Krang before.
Okay. The Burke family would love that.
Yeah, so I'm going to make a print for this.
That's amazing.
I got to send it to the printer tomorrow, so I just finished it like literally right before we came on. But
that's awesome.
Really proud of that. So yeah, I mean, I'm still thinking about what I would want to draw or write for another company. If Neil Gaiman ever wanted to write Sandman again, I think I would be a fucking great artist for Sandman, just because I draw trippy, weird, spaced out stuff too, amongst other things. My styles adapt, you know what I mean? Like that turtle piece, that's pretty on what do you call it? Style guide, whatever.
Yeah.
Pretty on the nose, the character. I mean, Shredder looks like a beefed up version of the cartoon version,
For sure. That's amazing that you kind of know where your style is, but at the same time you kind of adapt your style to what it needs to be for certain comics. And it's really cool because there's cool different comics. I think We Live kind of does a few different styles within it. Same with Crossover. Crossover is huge for doing those different styles throughout. And it's so interesting to see where they end up taking each style and why they do it in a certain style instead of another one. I think the biggest thing for any MCU fans of the channel, it's kind of like WandaVision, where each of the first 3 episodes was in a different style of the 50s and 60s, 70s, and 80s to kind of really get us involved in that storyline and kind of see. And then they brought in what it was all about. So It's really cool to see how an artist kind of attacks a book with a style, because I feel like the style itself speaks to where a book might go, or even speaks to just how a book can develop or the type of book story that it's going to be.
Right. Well, yeah, definitely agreed. And that's why with Tuff Stuff, so much of the book is just the overall design, and that's why I had to draw it by hand. It didn't feel natural to draw this on a tablet. Like, I just didn't get that. I didn't get that feeling out of it. And also going back to use the technology of the time. I mean, this is hand drawn. Like, look at this. Look at the lines. Yeah. They're all straight, all perfect. I'm sorry, I'm kind of butchering this camera view, but
you're good.
It adds a new element to the art. It it's just more lively. I mean, I just don't think you could always get that doing a flat digital drawing.
100%. You can see all the different, like, the feeling in the pencil lines and the feeling in the different things that is going on. Like that kaboom on that one page was just completely, it's completely out there. You see it right away. You want it to be out there. You want that explosion to be the focal point of that page. And then you're like, oh my God, how did we get here?
It's cool too, because like you can reference the pages side by side. You can reference the pages like side by side and kind of get an idea, when you're thumbnailing or plotting out the book. Because I think a lot of people, artists and illustrators and stuff, they don't think to figure out how the page is going to turn, or the editors don't put the book together properly. They might put an ad in a place that shouldn't be there. So when you're flipping the page, you're not getting the big reveal. It's screwed up or something. So being in control of that is a huge asset, and like learning to play with that. Have you ever read Scott Snyder's and Greg Capullo's Batman run, the New 52 one?
A little bit. I've picked up issues here and there of it as I was reading it. My wife picks up a lot of DC stuff, mainly for the cover. I'm not a huge DC reader. Like I said, I love The Flash and I love Green Arrow, but it's not one of those things that I gravitate to. But yeah. I've read a few.
Well, being that I'm a big Capullo fan through Spawn and X-Force and all that, so there's an issue where Batman's like in this underground maze and he's drugged up and everything, and as you're reading it, the pages start like turning, like you got to turn 90 degrees, 180, go back 90 degrees, because he's going through the maze. So like as a reader, you also have to do that, and I just like, man, that's such a brilliant idea. Like, so I try to find ways, I'm trying to innovate and do the same thing. And, even with the packaging for Tuff stuff, like I didn't tell the Kickstarter backers I was making like this like cool VHS box. I don't know if you've seen that. Let me show you real quick. So I didn't show anyone, I didn't mention this in the Kickstarter that I was going to make this, but it adds to the aesthetic. It's it takes place in 93. So it's literally a VHS cassette.
That's so cool.
Designed to look like a VHS, and then you open it, your book's in there or whatever.
That's amazing.
So you gotta, like, for me, I want it to be an overall experience as much as I can. And having the ability to do something like a Kickstarter where it actually gets funded and I actually have money to play around and figure out different things, it's just whatever can add to the experience. And as a writer, artist, you got to figure that out. You got to figure out, even if it's just the way you draw a panel border, you can scratch around a panel border, and that's making it pop more. And you just got to be cognizant of all these different tricks of the trade and learn.
100%. Yeah, that's amazing. It's really cool to kind of see like where your thought process has gone throughout this whole process of creating these two different comics, and then also just creating comics for other people and doing commissions as well. Terrificon's a really great Comic-Con. I wish I could go. I've never been to a big Comic-Con. I've always wanted to. My bucket list is to go to San Diego Comic-Con. And Ken Wheaton, who I just had him commission a piece of art for me, I believe he's going down there. Mm-hmm. And what was that?
Oh, I didn't say anything. I said,
sorry. But yeah, it's just so cool to hear about the way that like Comic-Con's kind of started, and then who gets to be there, and the different comics that are going to be there. So I went to my very first one that was just like a minor comic festival and brought my kids and my wife. And it was just so cool seeing the different artwork, seeing what people were into. I picked up a little Amazing Spider-Man Avengers slab holder for my son that was made out of wood. It's just so cool to see what people make for comics. I'm still trying to figure out what to do with some of these pieces of art, but we picked up 3 pieces of art by Jamie Tyndall. Yeah. And like, my wife is just absolutely in love with Harley Quinn. We started watching the animated show recently. And I mean, this artwork that Jamie does is just beautiful. Yeah. Like it's phenomenal artwork. Yeah. And like, I wish that I could get it slabbed and framed and all that. I just don't have any for it.
When I don't know if Canada's back open or not, I think it is, or it's opening in the next month or so. But if you get a chance, go to Fan Expo. It's in Toronto and it's huge, and 2 hours away. I mean, how far away is it from where you're at? That's 2 hours still, or?
Toronto to Rochester is usually an hour and a half, 2 hours, somewhere about there.
Yeah, it's about the same from where I'm at too. So
yeah,
if you get a chance, go there. I mean, they've had Todd McFarlane there, they've had Jim Lee, they had John Byrne, like Scott Snyder, Greg Capullo. I've met Jason Fabok there. I met James Tynion there, and like he had no one around him. And it was right when the Batman Who Laughs came out, and I had like a black and white Batman Who Laughs. I got him and Fabok to sign it, and I was just
that's awesome.
shooting the shit with him. Like literally, no one was around him, and I knew who he was because I'm in the comics. I kind of remember actually him from the Batman run. But at any rate, it was weird because he had no one around him, and now he's like the hottest writer in comics. His Batman run is blowing up, and so is Something Is Killing the Children, and Department of Truth, or is that what it's called?
Yeah,
Department of Truth. Yeah. But at any rate, Wind, like he's got like 18 comics out right now. It's crazy. But yeah, definitely check out Fan Expo if you can. That's a big one, man. There's a lot of people there, and I'm gonna be at. I don't know because COVID kind of messed everything up. It might be in October or August. I'm not sure. I'm not going. I'm not trying to go there this year, but I'll also be at Baltimore Comic Con later this year in October, and that's a pretty big one too. And I think they do the Ringo Awards there, which are like the next step away from the Eisners. So a lot of people will be there. Yeah.
Very cool.
It's a big list.
What is the big draw, like being an artist and a writer? What do you love about going to a Comic-Con?
Selling my books. That I like talking to other creators a lot, which now I don't get the chance to do as much because I got to run my business. But I used to really just enjoy, before the show starts or something, running up to someone. See, it's nice in Buffalo because we don't have the biggest convention, but we have some decent ones. Nickel City's good. Queen City puts on a decent one, and but I've been able to meet a lot of good people and get feedback from them. Like I met I met Francis Manipool. So if you like the Flash, he's done a ton of Flash artwork, and he was just a super nice dude. I met Frank Cho, and the other conventions though I met Brian Stelfreeze, and that dude, man, he took an hour out of his time to kind of like critique my portfolio, give me pointers, give me lessons, and like just things you don't think of. Yeah. Like, especially someone that's trying to make comics. There's so much to learn, right? And he's like, man, every page should just tell you should be like one scene. Like get one point across. You know what I mean? Batman jumps in the middle of the night, he lands on a rooftop, he rolls over the rooftop, he runs to the end of the rooftop, and he jumps, or he just runs the end of the rooftop and then the next page is a splash page. And it's just like figuring that out, man, simplifying it, not like making it so that it's easy for the reader the flow is there. And different aspects like that. And figure drawing and it's just easier to get a better critique from someone when you're face to face as opposed to like on the internet, because you can read an email over and over again. That's great too, but it's different when you can catch someone like they're honest and raw, like aspects, kind of like what we're doing right now. If someone gave me a book to read, I wouldn't hold back from saying what really needs to be said as opposed to an email where I'm just kind of fluffing it and giving you what you want to hear.
And you're thinking over your thoughts and like, oh, this doesn't really sound right. I shouldn't say it that way. I should say it this way. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Right. And you're not always guaranteed a response either. People are busy. They don't have time to always respond back to you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I always like that. I like the same thing. I like getting the art. I like seeing new stuff. I like talking to artists that I admire. I like going to panels. I like to listen to stories that I've heard probably a million times. I'll listen to them a million and one. I'll listen to Todd McFarlane tell me how he doesn't drink water so he doesn't have to pee during a signing over and over and over again,
I've always wanted to meet him.
Me too, man. Me too. I think we all do.
Yeah. It'd be so cool just to run into him and just start shooting the shit with him about Spider-Man and where he got his thoughts from. And like, it's so interesting. And that's, I think, because I do like to write. I love like thinking of up different stories, and I've done like a few short stories and whatnot. But just as a writer or an artist, like taking on such a big book, or not even a big book, but just taking someone else's character and adapting it to your style or adapting it to a new story, and without losing anything in the process. That's not easy to do. And like one of the first times that I saw that was reading Dan Slott's finale of Amazing Spider-Man and having it run into Nick Spencer's beginning and how like he started to do stuff with it. It's so cool to kind of see the different writers do different things with the characters, but at the same time not have that character completely change either. It's just so cool.
It's got to be tough for those guys, because I don't know how I would handle writing a character that's been around for 60 years and all that history and continuity. And I know they change things up here and there, and it's like a new norm every year or whatever, but like, that just seems daunting. You know what I mean? You have to have a strong editor. I wouldn't know where to start. I really wouldn't. I think I could do it, but I just wouldn't know. It would be tough. I've never taken on another character that I didn't create. I've created most of my characters, and the ones that I didn't, I visualized them. I figured elements out about them. You know, someone would be like, "Oh, hey, I want you to come up with a character for me. He's a bat, and you know, he really likes the McRib or something." You know what I mean? And I got to figure out like, okay. That guy that eats McRibs. Okay, I got this. And then, you know, I got to figure that out. So in that aspect, I still create the character. You know, I just let direction. So I've never been able to do that yet. And I kind of wonder how it would be too. I think in that case, I'd rather be the artist than the writer, just because I can't make Superman like a crackhead. Or can I?
Or is he?
Lay off me, man. Krypton blew up. Things ain't been the same. PTSD. Who's your favorite Spider-Man artist of all time?
Probably just because of what he did with Venom, Bagley. I love what he did with Venom and everything. But there's certain things about McFarlane's run that I love. Like every run has an artist that I love to see different ways that they portray them. Yeah. Yep. Bagley always speaks to me. No matter, even if I don't know it's him, it's just like, that's the cover that I want to get of Venom 200. I want his cover without even realizing that he's the one who created it, because I like the way that he draws Venom. I like the way that he draws characters. One of the ones that for covers, I have to say J. Scott Campbell. His Spider-Man artwork is phenomenal. Yeah.
That's the J. Scott X-Men piece. Yeah, he's dope. Yeah, he draws perfect. Black Cat, Mary Jane, all that stuff. Yeah, you really can't beat him as a cover artist like at all. You know what? I figured you were gonna say Bagley. I really did. Trying to think if I have one. I don't have a favorite. Humberto Ramos comes to mind, but I'm not in love with that either.
Yeah.
I didn't like how he drew like the Black Costume's eyes. It's kind of weird. He had like the glasses. I don't have a favorite.
It was an interesting way that Spider-Man was drawn back then.
Yeah. It wasn't even that long ago. I mean, like 850, I think was the last one. That like double
was it
size.
Really? Mm-hmm. I must be thinking of someone else.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm a stickler for this. I know my artist more than really anything.
See, and that's the biggest thing is like people talk to me about artists and writers, and I'm like, I mean, I know a few of them. I don't.
Yeah. I follow the artists and writers more than I do the books.
Yeah.
The storyline, if that makes sense. But I'm gonna be stuck on that for a while. Who my favorite Spider-Man artist is.
But yeah,
I never liked Larson's, but he had good ideas. I just didn't like his figure work. And I think that's kind of my issue with Bagley too. I didn't like the way Bagley used to draw legs, and he got better as an artist. But I just hated the way he drew legs in the earlier days. It like pissed me off. That's why I can't say he's my favorite. Maybe now he's got better and everything. But yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, man. I like art. What can I say?
Yeah. everyone loves their different sides of comics. I mean, one of the biggest things that my wife loves about the comics, like I said, is the cover artwork. She bought the first appearance of Sam Wilson as Cap, the first appearance of Torres, and the first appearance of Torres as Falcon, just because she liked the covers. She had no idea that they were going to be huge someday, and they're sitting in a box behind me, and I'm like, well, I can't get rid of these. They're my wife's books. And there's we went and got them together. Like, there's history behind them, and there's sentimental value behind it, and it's just a book, but at the same time, there's memories tied to it that even if that book starts going for $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, I'm not selling it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, there's certain books in my collection that I just won't get rid of.
Right. Yeah, there's certain books I buy over and over and over again. If I lose them or damage them or whatever, like, I've bought Spawn #1 like 5 times. I've bought X-Men #1 like 5 times. I have a bunch of key books I bought over and over and over again. Speaking of which, you're right though. I mean, covers are what sells the book. I mean, look at this beautiful cover homage.
Yeah.
Tough stuff.
When I saw that was actually one of the things that kind of drew me to you as an artist. I was like, that's a really sweet cover, and I like that it really kind of takes you back to, like you said, I mean, it's supposed to be that buddy cop style 80s outlaw, just downright crazy looking comic. And the fact that it's an homage cover is crazy cool. That's beautiful.
That's the holofoil.
Yeah.
Yeah. That yeah, I mean, covers sell the book. You gotta have a dope cover for sure. Yeah.
You'll probably like this one since you're an X-Men fan.
I do like that. Let me have that. Thank you.
Signed by Claremont too. I won this in a giveaway. It's my lowest graded book, but it's my very first signed book. And I was like, you know what? I kind of understand why people get books signed now. It's really cool to see.
He's an interesting guy. I have X-Men 1 signed by Claremont. I don't have. I've got a pretty substantial X-Men run, but I don't have a lot of the older ones that I want, just because of price. Like, I'm not. If I can't find it at a dollar bin or something, I'm not gonna hunt it down. I know some people have fucking like 8 copies of like 1 issue. I'm like, for what? What are you doing? You know? So yeah, man. I'm gonna do Tough Stuff 2 next. That's what I'm working on. The script's done. I'm working on another project. I'm gonna kind of be tight-lipped on because I'm not done with the script yet. But it's about like it has something to do with like supernatural kind of cryptid animal monsters stuff. But Tough Stuff 2, I think, is gonna be the next big launch. I'm gonna write out Tough Stuff 1 for now in the meantime, but I'm probably gonna do another Kickstarter.
Very cool.
I'll be at Terrificon this coming up weekend, and then for Free Comic Book Day, August 14th, I'll be at Dave and Adams on Sheridan. I don't know if you've been there before. It's a pretty big store.
I've never been there, but I know where Sheridan is.
It's a weird thing on Sheridan. You'd have to like Google map it or something, because if you just go down Sheridan, there's like a weird intersection. It doesn't work right. I don't know. It's weird. It's hard to get there. And then October, I'll be at Baltimore Comic Con. I think I'm going to do more Comic Cons. Like, kind of want to do C2E2. The only thing is, Chicago's expensive. It's expensive to get a hotel.
Yeah. And
it's expensive to get on the show. And I got to travel. When it's all said and done, I'm out like $1,000 before I even get there. And that's on like a cheap end. That's on the cheap end. And I got to make sure I'm making $1,000. So I'm going to kind of test the waters out at Terrificon and see how that goes. But Tough Stuff's been selling incredibly well. So we'll see. This is a big test this upcoming weekend. Either way, I'm going to have a great time. Have a lot of fun. Yeah. Is there any questions you want to ask? Anything else you want to cover?
I think I'm good for now. But yeah, so the Kickstarter's still live?
No, Kickstarter ended. We got fully funded That ended back in April. I finished the book, and the Kickstarter ended the end of April. I finished the book the end of May, and then it got delivered 2 weeks ago. It just took. There was a lot of printing snafus this time because I was trying to go through multiple printers.
It happens.
It sucks. I was like waiting like 6 weeks for a book. Usually I get them in like 2 to 3 weeks. I actually just had to reorder because we sold out the first run in like 6 days.
Wow.
So
that's awesome.
And Tuff Stuff's going to be published later on. It got picked up by a publisher. We're just waiting for the contracts to be sorted out right now. Yeah, I'm pretty pumped. But I think I'm still going to do issues.
How many issues are you thinking with Tuff Stuff?
Couple.
Okay.
I can't say.
Okay.
Even if I finish like the arc that I want to do, I'm still kind of leaving it somewhat open. Like I'm leaving that door. I'm not going to shut that door all the way. I'm not going to say how many. The publisher might announce it, but I'm not going to if I don't have to because it's kind of giving away things.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Yeah. So yeah, there's going to be another one. We'll put it to you like that. And then I'm probably going to do Tuff Stuff for a couple years, I'm thinking.
Okay.
And then, awesome. But I do want to go back and finish at least my second run of Volantis because I don't want to leave it halfway through the arc I'm in. So,
yeah. I noticed that you're on part 2 of 6 with issue 8 coming out. And so at least 4 more issues.
Issue 8's out, so it'd be 9, 10, 11, and 12. 12 would be double-sized. The story's done. It's just time and interest. Yeah. As much as I love Volantis, but like the everything's been coming from Tuff Stuff. It's like people like new stuff. You know what I mean? Like it's hard to push. This is issue 47 of Volantis, a storyline that you never heard of. But like, if you read all 47 issues before this, you can catch up. You know what I mean? It's like, boom, cat.
Yeah.
Like, here's cat. Take the cat book. Thank you.
Yeah. 100%.
So yeah, keeping it fresh.
So how much is issue 1 going for of Tuff Stuff?
So, I'll break it down. The black and white edition is $10.
Okay.
It's 40 pages.
It's a pretty nice sized comic.
Yeah, it's heavy. The A cover, 15.
Okay.
And the holofoil that I showed earlier, this is 20. Holofoil's expensive to produce.
Yeah.
This is like,
makes sense.
This is like a heavy book. Like it's got heft to it. And then this version is 30 only because one, it's numbered 1 out of 100.
Okay.
Only 100 of these made. Comes with a certificate of authenticity.
That's awesome.
And a holofoil seal. So you would send that into CGC or CBCS. And actually, if you break this seal, it says void, so you can't.
Yeah.
That's like legit collector stuff. So yeah, and then I'm doing sets all together for $75. And
wow.
There's just no price difference. But yeah, I sold a bunch of those.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and then if you don't want to pay that kind of money for it now, like I said, down the road it's going to be published by scale. So I don't know what the price is on that either. Right now we're working that out.
Yeah.
I don't think it can be that much. I mean, what are most 40-page books going for? Like top dollar, or like the highest.
$6-7.
Yeah, like $7-8, something like that. Yeah. It's probably gonna be 6 or 7, I would think. I'm not sure.
Okay. Yeah.
We haven't worked it out yet, but yeah. So you can get it through me. You can hit me up directly. Best place to follow me is probably Instagram. It's solstice_art.
Okay.
On Facebook, I'm Delgado Kevin. And then on Twitter, I'm frigid_giant. And is it underscore? There might not be an underscore there. I'm not sure. I got a link tree I can send you guys to. My website is kevindelgado.co. I have a Spreadshirt for merchandise. It's spreadshirt.com/solsticeart. And you can get Tough Stuff shirts, Tough Stuff mugs, Tough Stuff bandanas. You can get volantis hoodies. You can get a bunch of stuff. There is a volantis website, but I don't really maintain that well. It's a bigcartel.volantiscomics. Yeah, volantiscomics.com, something like that. bigcartel.com/volantiscomics, I think.
Very cool.
Yeah. So if you got anything else, you know, if you guys want to hit me up, that's fine too.
Yeah.
I do take on commissions right now. I'm kind of not, so I can get back to work on Tough Stuff too. I'm at conventions. If you're local, I'm pretty much all over the place. So yeah, look me up, follow me. Feel free to hit me up, talk to me, ask some questions, whatever.
Keep up the good work. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. It's so much fun listening to creators talk about their work and their craft. Definitely when Tough Stuff 2 is ready to hit me up again, and we will have another interview and we'll talk more about it. I can't wait.
I can't wait, man. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Have a good one.
Good night.
All right. So you heard it here from Kevin Delgado himself, artist, creator, and writer of Tough Stuff issue number 1. And then as it goes forward 2 through however many he's got planned out. And you can also check out Volantis. It is on issue 8 right now. So only 8 issues to catch up. But as he said, 7 and 8 are almost completely sold out. So make sure that you get in right now. I'll show you his link one more time. And with all that being said, it has been an absolute pleasure listening and learning with you guys all about Tough Stuff. Again, it only came out a week ago now, so it is brand new. It is amazing, the artwork, and it is absolutely phenomenal. Before I head out, I do want to share one quick thing from the Tough Stuff website itself, because it was just so cool to kind of, as I was learning about this and reading about it, the different stuff that Kevin had put out as it was going on and after they got funded. And as he said, they got funded really quickly on Kickstarter. So again, I'm going to go ahead and share that with you guys because it is absolutely amazing to see the artwork that was put into this and the time and effort that was put into everything Tough Stuff related. Oh, sorry. I want to make sure I share the audio with it so it's not just a video playing without audio.
Hi, I'm Kevin Delgado, and if you're watching this, that means that Tough Stuff has been completely funded thanks to you out there. Everyone that's backed this project, I cannot thank you enough. It is my dream, and you are helping me to achieve it, and just once again, thank you. I'm not good at doing these, so I'm going to keep it brief, but I wanted to give everyone an update on what's going on. So what does this mean now that we've reached our goal? Well, it kind of blew my expectations, to be honest with you. So there's still a month left in the Kickstarter campaign. So what happens next is we try to reach what are called flex goals. Our first flex goal is set at $3,000. When we get that, what happens is everyone that's pledged will also get a Tough Stuff glow-in-the-dark pin. That is my gift back to everyone for backing up the project. Outside of that, I'm looking at really expanding the packaging of the book and creating more of an experience. I'm looking at other things for flex goals, and they will be announced as accordingly. So currently I'm working on the book still. I have several pages done and colored. I'm kind of waiting for the Kickstarter to kind of run its course so I can add more cameos as they come in. Thank you everyone for backing it. Thank you for all that have bought the cameos and original art pages. just so you know, I am selling the original pages to fund this project. There is a Kickstarter tier for it. There are still pages available. I would get in on the ground floor. My original art tends to sell, and I underpriced it just to hit our goals for this funding project. So you can expect Tuff stuff at some point this summer. I put down October in the campaign just to give myself some time to actually get it done and made. But seeing as the book is halfway done, I see it being done on my end relatively soon. And then it's just a matter of completing the packaging, the overall book design, editing it, and then getting it shipped to the printers, and making sure that the book is pristine and there's no errors. So once again, I want to thank each and every one of you for backing up this project, and it's just the start of something big. I can tell you that. I'm working so hard on this. I have great plans for the future, and hopefully this takes off and becomes something monumental. Thank you.
So once again, it's just that was a couple months ago. It's absolutely awesome what Kevin has done in the past few months, and I can't wait to see where this goes. I'm definitely gonna be picking up my copy. Again, he said that it's $10 for that black and white issue. It's $15 for the cover A, $20 for the 20 for the hollow foil cover, and then $30 for the homage cover. So with all that being said, make sure that you go down, you hit that subscribe button, and I can't wait to see where this goes from here. It's going to be amazing. Thank you so much for lounging with us. It has been an absolute pleasure in this special issue, Sunday night issue of the Comics Lounge, and we'll see where it all goes from here. Have a great one, everyone. See you soon. Hashtag Loungers Unite. Real quick, I do need to say it was real hard not getting any spoilers for Tuff Stuff during all of that. You have to go pick up an issue. You have to go read it. It is absolutely amazing. You will not be sorry. Go make sure to check him out. Again, the link for that is right in the comments right here. Go check out everything that he has been doing lately. Volantis is amazing. It is a great book. There is an 8-issue pack, all 8 issues of it for $40 on his website. Go pick those up. I guarantee Kevin Delgado is going to be one of the next big artists. He said that he actually got to see an artist before there was a lot of people at his booth. I think he's going to be that artist and writer who's going to be at those Comic Cons with a lot of people, not at his booth right now, but will be big as it moves forward in the next 3, 5, 10 years. Keep an eye on this guy. He is definitely going places. His art is phenomenal. His stories are amazing. Keep up the good work, Kevin. It has been an absolute pleasure getting to know you through this past hour, and I can't wait to see where it goes from here.